When you hear the words nonviolent resistance and Indian independence, who immediately springs to mind?
Well, for most people, that's Mahatma Gandhi, isn't it?
Absolutely. His name is just synonymous with the movement, a global icon of peaceful defiance, really.
Totally.
But what if I told you there was another, well, another titan of nonviolence, a figure so impactful he was often called the Frontier Gandhi, and he led this extraordinary movement right there in the rugged northwestern frontier of undivided India.
Yeah, a place you wouldn't necessarily expect it.
Exactly. So this deep dive is basically your shortcut to understanding his remarkable, but yeah, often overlooked story.
Indeed, and the unique power, I think, of our source material today is that it's a first-hand account. We're drawing directly from the autobiography,
Right. His own words.
My Life and Struggle by Badshah Khan himself. So this isn't just, history from a distance.
Yeah.
It's an invaluable, authoritative, and deeply personal perspective on, well, a pivotal historical period and a critical yet less understood aspect of the freedom movement.
Gives you that intimate glimpse, doesn't it?
It really does. Into the mind of a man who truly saw himself as a seeker of truth. And it's especially powerful, I think, that this particular edition was so accessible.
Oh.
Translated into Hindi, Urdu, and English, and notably published during the Gandhi centenary year,
Oh, okay.
which powerfully underscored the shared spirit, of their unique legacies.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Our journey today is going to take you deep into the formative years of Badshah Khan.
Where it all started.
Exactly. We'll explore his early life, the foundational influences that shaped him, and the initial struggles he faced, all to understand how he became this leader utterly devoted to nonviolence.
Which, as you said, is astounding given the circumstances.
Truly astounding, especially considering the challenging, often violent region he came from. Let's start right at the very beginning then, tracing the roots of this revolutionary figure.
Good place to start.
Badshah Khan was born in the small village of Utmanzai, nestled within the region of Hastanagar. And it's fascinating and quite telling of the idea, really, that, like many Pathan families back then, they just didn't keep official records of birth dates.
Right, not like today.
Not at all. He actually estimated his birth year to be around 1890.
Just an estimate.
Yeah, basing it on his mother's memory related to his brother's marriage, which instantly gives you a feel for the specific cultural context, the grounded reality of his early life.
And what's truly insightful for understanding Badshah Khan's later path, and quite remarkable in the context of the Pathan frontier, is the character of his father, Khan Bahram Khan.
Okay, tell us about him.
He was a great Khan, a chieftain, a really powerful figure in their village.
Right.
But the autobiography emphasizes that he carried absolutely no arrogance or vanity, not at all. He's described as even-tempered, God-fearing, sober, and incredibly generous, renowned for his compassion and nobility.
Wow.
And most strikingly, he was known for never seeking revenge and always protecting the oppressed.
That's huge, especially there.
Absolutely huge. In a region where honor and, retribution were often paramount, this deep-seated principle of non-retaliation and justice, embodied by his own father, well, it clearly laid some foundational psychological groundwork for Badshah Khan's future commitment to nonviolence.
That's a powerful distinction, isn't it? It suggests his path wasn't just a sudden conversion, but something really deeply rooted.
Exactly. Rooted in a lineage of compassion and justice, even amidst that warrior culture.
And his mother sounds equally remarkable, contributing to this whole ethos.
Yes, she does.
The autobiography describes her as incredibly generous and liberal, someone who would personally prepare food for the poor of the neighborhood and then distribute it herself.
A very hands-on approach.
It's a powerful image, isn't it? That kind of deeply personal service right at the heart of their home.
Precisely. And this spirit of service wasn't just confined to their immediate family. It extended to their, legendary hospitality. Travelers were always welcome. And the family, regardless of their status, would personally serve meals to guests.
Really? Even the Khan?
Even his father, the great Khan, would apparently carry baskets of bread on his head and plates of curry in his hands to serve those who came to their home.
Incredible.
This wasn't just, cultural custom. It was a deeply ingrained ethos. It fostered a profound sense of duty and a radical commitment to helping others. You can see how it lays a direct foundation for Badshah Khan's later dedication to serving humanity.
And this wasn't just a recent family trait either, was it?
No, it went back further.
His grandfather, Saifullah Khan, lived by the very same principles of justice and resistance. He was a fighter, deeply involved in the struggle against foreign rulers, suffered under their oppression, and was a staunch advocate for those who struggled against foreign power.
So it's a clear lineage.
Definitely. Steeped not just in power, but in active resistance and the protection of the vulnerable.
Yes, and if we connect this to the bigger picture, this heritage goes back even further. His great-grandfather, Abdul Khan, was a famous and well-loved advisor, an enlightened mind, and a fervent patriot. He was even the ruler of Durrani country when it was annexed to Punjab by the British.
Wow, so right in the thick of it.
Absolutely. This isn't just a family tree. It's a direct line of inherent, ingrained resistance against colonial power and a deep commitment to their people's welfare. It really sets the stage for a man whose actions seem almost predestined by the values instilled over generations.
Okay, moving from his family's values to his early education, we immediately see the glaring issues with the British approach to schooling in Punjab.
Yeah, it wasn't straightforward.
They opened many schools, sure, but critically, they largely failed to educate Pathan children.
A huge gap.
There was this clear lack of sympathy and almost intentional disconnect between the Pathans and the British, and it was further exacerbated by a shocking absence of primary schools in many Pathan villages, particularly in Punjab.
It really feels like deliberate neglect, doesn't it?
It does, like a policy designed to keep a segment of the population uneducated and, well, easier to control.
And what's particularly disheartening here is that the British education system in India, as described in the autobiography, predominantly taught children in a language that was not their own.
Right, which is fundamental.
Pacha Khan himself notes this as a matter of great regret. It created this fundamental disconnect right from the start, a barrier to genuine learning rather than a bridge to knowledge. It wasn't about empowering, it was about imposing.
And this disconnect was further complicated by the powerful presence of traditional Orthodox mullahs who actively resisted British influence.
Right, another layer of opposition.
They didn't just disapprove, they spread outright propaganda against these new British schools, viewing them as places where parents send their children to these schools, do so only for the sake of money.
So casting suspicion on motives.
Exactly. It set up this profound cultural and religious battleground right there at the foundational level of society.
This raises an important question, though.
Yeah.
What was the real root of the mullah's opposition?
Good question.
Pacha Khan suggests it wasn't purely a religious objection, but a deep-seated fear. Fear of Pathans becoming illiterate and uneducated in their own traditions and reverting to their old customs that the mullahs considered, well, barbaric.
Ah, okay. So a fear of losing their own influence too, perhaps.
Possibly. And there was also the ingrained belief that education is only for the Brahmins.
Oh, wow.
A notion that tragically contributed significantly to divisions within their own communities, creating internal obstacles to progress and unity. They saw modern education not as a path to enlightenment, but as a slippery slope to losing their very identity and spiritual grounding.
Despite this widespread internal and external resistance, Pacha Khan's personal educational journey was quite different, wasn't it? Largely thanks to his father's vision.
Yes, his father pushed for it.
He began learning the Holy Quran at age 5 from a mullah, and he quickly found success and satisfaction in learning, which must have been a powerful, positive early experience for him. He was clearly a bright and eager student.
But the funny thing, as Pacha Khan recounts it, about the mullah's teaching method offers a fascinating glimpse into the pedagogical norms of the time.
How so?
Well, basic elements like A, B, C weren't taught in sequence. Instead, if a student couldn't recite half the alphabet, they were simply beaten.
Beaten, just like that.
Just like that. And what's even more remarkable is that the mullah wasn't blamed for this harshness. It was simply the prevalent method of the time, accepted as the norm. It highlights a culture of, well, unquestioning obedience.
Even with that brutal teaching style, both of his parents were very happy and rejoiced at his progress.
Which says a lot.
It really underscores how much the Pathans valued even this traditional form of education and why they consistently sent their children to mosques for instruction. It was seen as vital, almost a birthright, despite the methods.
The mullahs, however, continued to propagate a deep-seated fear. The widespread perception that worldly learning was kufra,
Against religion.
fundamentally against religion. They even spread this chilling verse, almost like a prophecy. Those who learn in schools, they are none but money's tools. In heaven they will never dwell, they will surely go to hell.
Wow, that's strong stuff.
A significant and formidable hurdle to any form of modern education. Truly a spiritual weapon deployed against progress.
But his family, showing that defiance we see as a theme, openly ignored the mullah's condemnation.
He didn't listen.
They sent his elder brother, Dr. Khan Sahib, to school first, and then Badshah Khan himself, at 8 years old, to mission school in Hashanagar.
Right into the system they opposed.
And the mullahs, apparently lacking the courage for an open confrontation, resorted to secretly trying to slander his parents behind their backs, showing their hypocrisy and, well, fear of direct challenge.
As Badshah Khan reflects on this period, there's a palpable sadness, almost a lament. He feels that these unfavorable circumstances and the ignorance of the mullahs left no room for good work as education and learning. It paints a vivid picture of a society held back not just by external colonial forces, but tragically by internal resistance and outdated traditions that stifled intellectual growth.
It's truly a tragedy, and he articulates it beautifully. He goes on to describe India as this incredible cradle of Aryan civilization.
Yeah, he really emphasizes the deep history.
Where Buddha preached and Buddhism spread widely. Even today, you can see the profound evidence of this in the magnificent statues and ruins like those at Bamalian,
Incredible artistry.
testifying to a perfection in the art of sculpture. It's a legacy of immense cultural and artistic achievement deep in their historical roots.
And this cultural richness extended to ancient learning centers, too. Think about the Buddhist universities at Ada and Taxila.
Right, famous centers.
With their impressive buildings, ruins, and art. These weren't just simple schools. They were complex, sophisticated institutions. Irrefutable evidence of a highly developed culture of the Pathans. A people with a sophisticated history, often tragically overlooked or actively suppressed.
Archaeological findings near a village further confirm this deep history, revealing the fascinating story of the Gandhara Shahi family. This research traces the Pathans back to Afghanistan and Pakhtunistan, identifying it as the cradle of one of the greatest families of mankind.
A powerful origin story.
It's even suggested that the Aryan race first saw the light of day on the banks of the river Amu, and that lofty culture first flourished there. That's a powerful, almost mythical origin story, establishing a deep sense of ancestral pride and historical significance.
This historical context also sheds light on ancient migration patterns. As populations increased, people naturally migrated to other countries, including Iran and Hindustan.
Which makes sense.
And that ultimately led to the incredibly diverse nations and communities we see today. It's a testament to the dynamic flow of human history and the interconnectedness of these cultures.
And the linguistic connection is equally fascinating. Aryanaviho, which is now Afghanistan and Pakhtunistan, shared a common language, likely the hypothetical Aryan language, with Pashto being remarkably close to it.
So a deep linguistic root
Suggests a deep, ancient linguistic and cultural connection that predates many later political or religious divisions.
Badshah Khan then connects this to ancient prophets and texts. Zoroaster from Balkh, the Vedas, the holy hymns of the Hindus, and Panini's Sanskrit grammar.
Right, all part of that shared heritage.
Highlighting a shared intellectual and spiritual heritage that, again, predates many of the later divisions and conflicts, emphasizing a common ground that he would later try to tap into for unity.
He also notes that by the time Islam arrived, Arabs had lost much of their spiritual light.
An interesting observation.
But the Prophet of Islam poured new life into their hearts, and great men like Abu Bakr and Omar propagated it. It's a nuanced view of religious history, acknowledging both periods of decline and powerful renewal.
The historical pride in this rich cultural heritage is palpable in Badshah Khan's writing. He laments that our splendid culture was taken away from us, but they did not give us, in its place, the true spirit of Islam.
A profound loss.
This, he felt, led to learning and seekers of God wandering through the Islamic world in search of the real Islam, suggesting a profound spiritual and intellectual vacuum left by centuries of colonial influence and internal stagnation.
So with all these influences, the family values, the deep cultural pride, the resistance to British education, where did Badshah Khan initially see his own future heading? Because it wasn't straight towards activism, was it?
No, not initially. Quite the opposite, actually.
In fact, after his early education, he had a very different career aspiration. He wanted to join the army.
Yeah, the military path.
He was apparently influenced by thrilling stories of army life from Bharani Kaka, his servant. And he describes painting these glamorous pictures of young officers in splendid uniforms, clearly captivated by the idea of a prestigious military career.
And what's fascinating here is his initial success and palpable excitement about it.
He was actually doing well.
Oh yeah, he diligently passed his matriculation, was promoted to the 10th class, and confidently applied for a direct commission to the Commander-in-Chief of India. The autobiography states he was very happy and exulted at the prospect, clearly seeing a bright, honorable future in this path. He wasn't just dreaming, he was actively pursuing it.
The turning point, however, came swiftly and, well, brutally, shattering that dream.
A really pivotal moment.
He presented himself to the recruiting officer and was actually selected for a direct commission in a highly prestigious regiment, cavalry and infantry, known as the Guides.
A top unit.
One of the most famous and acclaimed units in the British Indian Army. This was a significant achievement, a clear path to a prestigious career almost within his grasp.
But then came the devastating, humiliating encounter.
This is the one.
A British officer, an English lieutenant, spoke to him with just utter contempt. Bareheaded, with a thick mop of hair adorned his forehead.
Yeah.
A detail that speaks volumes about the officer's casual disregard for custom and respect.
Right.
The officer sneeringly asked, "Really, you damn Sardar Sahib, so you want to be an Englishman, do you?"
Oh, that's awful.
This casual, dismissive insult, steeped in racial superiority, turned Pacha Khan deadly pale and caused him to lose courage instantly. It was a stark, personal moment of racial and colonial arrogance asserting itself, revealed the fundamental disrespect inherent in the system.
That single incident left a very deep impression on him, one that would fundamentally alter the course of his life.
Completely changed everything.
He began to question everything, whether he should join the army or indeed seek any employment with the British. It was a profound realization about the true nature of colonial power and the complete lack of respect shown even to the most promising, qualified native individuals.
It wasn't just a career choice anymore.
No, it became a moral crossroads.
And his father's reaction powerfully reinforced this dawning realization.
What did his father say?
He was furious, absolutely furious, saw no honorable aspect in the decision to serve the British. He viewed the British as despicable, insisting that his son, by considering employment with them, would essentially be a servant of the British government and should not give them any respect.
Strong words.
Very strong. This firm fatherly guidance resonated with Pacha Khan's own growing disillusionment, solidifying his rejection of colonial service.
This pivotal moment led to a significant shift in his path then. Instead of the army,
He changed direction completely.
Pacha Khan applied to studies in Campbellpur and then Aligarh, with the ambitious intention of eventually going to England for engineering.
Engineering. Interesting.
Yeah. His father sent a supportive letter, and his brother, Dr. Khan Sahib, helped him with travel and accommodation, making this new educational pursuit possible. It was a complete reorientation of his life's trajectory.
The emotional farewell from his mother at this time truly underscores the depth of his family's love and the profound significance of his decision.
How so?
She was deeply saddened, apparently believing her son would be leaving forever.
Oh, bless her.
And it was this powerful expression of love from his family that prompted him to make a profound vow. To dedicate himself to the service of my country and my people, the service of God and humanity. This intensely personal commitment became the guiding principle of his entire life, translating his family's values of service into a national mission.
This shift wasn't just personal, though. It was also a direct reaction to the tyrannical and unjust laws the British were introducing in his region.
Right, the political context was crucial.
In 1901, the British separated Punjab and brought in brutal new laws like the Frontier Crimes Regulation Act.
The infamous FCR.
These laws were explicitly designed, as Pacha Khan describes, to create communalism, disharmony, and mutual enmity among the Pathans, systematically dividing them to weaken any potential united front.
Classic divide and rule.
Textbook, weaponized as law.
And this obnoxious law was truly insidious and profoundly unjust. It allowed the police to just start fictitious cases against anyone the British disliked.
No evidence needed.
Pretty much. Creating widespread violence and injustice with impunity. A chilling example given is Habib Nur, arrested in 1931 for belonging to the Kudai Khidmatgars,
Yeah.
shot just 24 hours later. And Section 40 of this act even allowed for the punishment of crimes without proof, effectively stripping people of fundamental rights and due process. It was a legal framework designed purely for oppression.
Despite these shockingly oppressive laws, the Pathans initially remained loyal to the British. That seems surprising.
It does, perhaps out of habit or just a pragmatic understanding of British power.
But the British often met this loyalty with brutal retaliation, sending Pathans to the gallows, designing new provinces to further fragment their identity, and continuously using these black laws to suppress any form of opposition.
A vicious cycle. Loyalty met with ever-increasing repression.
And the mullahs, as we discussed earlier, continued their resistance to modern education.
And the British exploited that.
Disturbingly, yes. They actively used the mullahs to forbid people from having their children educated, preying on their ingrained fears that Pathans would lose their identity and religion if they pursued modern schooling.
A cynical alliance.
Between colonial power and religious conservatism, aimed at keeping the population ignorant and docile.
Pacha Khan, though, seeing this deliberate intellectual suppression, bravely countered these mullahs.
How did he argue against them?
He told them that Islam itself unequivocally requires every man to acquire knowledge and wisdom, a powerful theological argument against their stance.
Using their own framework against them.
Exactly. He urged them to send children to British schools for practical reasons, recognizing the necessity of modern skills, but more importantly, he called for the building of national schools.
Ah, okay, his own schools.
Right. He understood that British schools would ultimately make children ignorant and uneducated about their own heritage and nation, creating a generation disconnected from their roots and thus easier to control.
But the mullahs were stubborn.
Incredibly stubborn, deeply entrenched in their traditions. Pacha Khan recounts an anecdote of a mullah who stayed with him and openly questioned the very benefits of modern education. This mullah genuinely believed money was wasted on education and that God would punish those who tried to change the traditional ways. This deep-seated internal resistance from within their own community was a profound challenge, perhaps even more difficult to overcome than the external British pressure.
Despite this multifaceted opposition, Pacha Khan remained resolutely committed to his own education.
He kept learning.
He continued to educate himself at mission school and Islamia school at Peshawar. He clearly loved learning new things and sharing that knowledge, realizing with a heavy heart that the ignorance of my people could only lead them to ruin and destruction.
That personal conviction fueled everything.
His personal conviction for knowledge directly fueled his broader educational movement. It became a core tenet of his activism.
And it was this conviction that led to the introduction of influential figures like Haji Sahib of Tarangzai.
Who was he?
Pacha Khan describes him as a real patriot and a great saint. Haji Sahib founded a Darul Ilm, basically a college or institution of learning in Ghadar, later overseen by Maulvi Taj Muhammad.
So building alternatives.
Exactly. Pacha Khan himself assisted other influential Maulvis, like Fazl Muhammad Rabi and Fazl Muhammad Makhfi, showing a collaborative, grassroots effort to promote national education outside the British system.
And the idea of national education began to spread.
It did. In 1910, Maulvi Abdulaziz opened a national Islamic school in Mangzai, and soon many such schools began to open across the province, attended by both young people and adults.
That shows a real hunger for it.
Undeniable hunger for education among the Pathan people, despite the profound obstacles placed in their way.
The influence of newspapers also became crucial, right, for disseminating knowledge and fostering national consciousness?
Absolutely vital. Zafar Ali Khan's Wayamindar and Maulana Abul Kalam Azad's Al-Hilal and Medina, all Urdu papers became incredibly popular, educating and informing the public.
And the British reaction?
Predictable. The British police, recognizing their power to ignite dissent, even blacklisted these newspapers and their subscribers in a concerted attempt to suppress the spread of knowledge and patriotic fervor.
Really highlights the power of the printed word.
Definitely. In their struggle.
His own intellectual journey continued as well. Several boys from his province studied at Deoband, a prominent Islamic seminary.
Including Maulvi Fazl Rabi and Maulvi Fazl Muhammad Makhfi, whom he worked with.
Right. Pacha Khan himself developed a deep sympathy and love for his country during this period, seeing education not just as personal advancement, but as the ultimate means to free the country from foreign slavery.
This period also included his meeting with Maulana Ubaidullah Sindhi,
who Pacha Khan called
a great revolutionary leader. They exchanged thoughts and ideas. And Maulana Sahib even lectured on the Holy Quran to young English-educated students at Fajpuri, apparently even offering Rs 50 to every student, a significant sum back then.
Wow, direct support.
clearly influencing young people to organize revolutionary groups, showing the intellectual and financial support being channeled into the cause of independence.
The tragic consequence of this widespread British suppression of education, though, was that many educated youth became disillusioned,
Understandably.
feeling they might have to betray their country and their faith if they pursued paths approved by the British. Pacha Khan believed Muslims were ultimately ruined because they began to love wealth and possessions over knowledge,
A spiritual decline.
leading to a spiritual and intellectual decline that left them vulnerable.
Maulvi Saiful Rahman from Fatehpuri, a professor at Arabic College, was another key influence during this formative period. He observed that the British made such frightening impressions
How so?
that they inadvertently pushed people towards places like Deoband, forcing them to engage in discussions with friends and colleagues and to seek alternative paths to knowledge and empowerment, precisely because of the oppression.
So a forced intellectual awakening, in a way.
Exactly, an unintended consequence of their own repressive tactics.
Okay, moving into the genesis of his early movements. The political landscape of 1912 was surprisingly quiet.
Yeah, relatively speaking, no widespread public meetings or demonstrations of national sentiment yet.
But by 1913, a nascent political awakening was visible. He saw posters for a Muslim League meeting in Agra, signaling a new era of organized political thought taking root.
And the Agra meeting itself was significant, attended by prominent figures like Saraga Khan and Maulana Abul Kalam Azad.
Big names.
Badshah Khan found it extremely interesting and instructive, a crucial early exposure to the mechanics of organized political movements and nationalist thinkers advocating for change.
His journey to Deoband in 1914, after receiving a letter from Sheikh ul Hassan, deepened his involvement then.
Yes, he met Maulvi Fazl Muhammad and Maulvi Fazl Rabi there, continuing his engagement with other influential nationalist thinkers and deepening his commitment to the cause.
What were the discussions like in Deoband?
Focused directly on the urgent freedom of India and the possibility of opening a dedicated center for independence.
The physical center.
That was the idea. It's fascinating that it was even believed, mistakenly at first, that crusaders from Bonar, meaning the Pashtun tribes, would be useless in this fight.
But that wasn't true.
No, this belief was later disproven by their fierce independence and unwavering resistance.
He also recounts meeting Nimatullah, a rich man from the province who surprisingly had top officers in the secret police under his influence.
Yeah, highlights the complex, often contradictory web of power and allegiances at the time, where even those seemingly outside the official power structure held significant sway.
This background provides crucial context for understanding the historical fight against the Sikhs too, right?
Absolutely. A previous struggle where people of India, particularly Sayyid Ahmed Sahib and Sayyidi Ismail Sahib Shahzad, fought and tragically lost their lives.
And the survivors.
The rest of them went to Bonar and settled in an independent district, underscoring a long, deep history of resistance and a fight for autonomy in the region, a spirit that Badshah Khan was now tapping into.
As his activism grew, so did the scrutiny and the direct harassment.
It became much more dangerous.
On one journey, he was stopped, questioned, and searched by police guards. He notes that he could be arrested for the slightest suspicion.
Really shows the pervasive, suffocating climate of fear and surveillance under British rule. A constant threat designed to deter any form of dissent.
He even describes the lengths he had to go to evade authorities, hiding himself under a cloth, a chadar, in a tonga or horse cart, just to avoid police detection.
Not just a casual inconvenience. It was a necessary tactic of survival, an early indication of the cat-and-mouse game he would play with the British throughout his life.
His travels during this period took him through various tribal areas like Malakand, Taktbai, Dargai, Butkale, Moman territory, and Bajor.
Getting a real sense of the region.
He keenly observed the independent tribes, the Pakhtuns and Baluchs, who were actively fighting the British. This direct exposure to ongoing armed resistance likely solidified his own resolve and shaped his understanding of the powerful spirit of his people, even as he would later advocate for nonviolence.
The political agent of Malakand, an Englishman named Cab, personified the oppressive atmosphere.
How so?
He created fear and arrested people for minor offenses. Badshah Khan recounts being forced to endure a humble and degrading manner without greeting and being arrested simply for refusing to remove his shoes.
For refusing to remove his shoes.
Just for that. This small act of defiance leading to immediate arrest perfectly illustrates the arbitrary and demeaning nature of British authority designed to break spirits.
This arbitrary power extended to brutal public punishments like being put in the stocks.
Ah, yes. The large wooden frame with holes for feet and a lid on top, forcing prisoners to sit with their feet sticking out.
Horrible.
Physically demeaning and painful form of control meant to humiliate and incapacitate.
Yet, amidst all this political awakening and resistance, Pacha Khan's religious motivations remained central.
His faith was key.
He journeyed to Ajmer, making a pilgrimage to the shrine of the great Sufi saint Khwaja Moinuddin Chishti.
A significant spiritual act.
This deeply spiritual act suggests that his entire struggle was profoundly rooted in his spiritual beliefs and an unwavering commitment to justice, not just a political ideology. His faith provided the bedrock for his activism. Then came a period of profound personal tragedy unfolding amidst the broader political turmoil.
Yeah, a very difficult time for him personally.
In December 1915, his second son, Wali, was born. But tragically, his eldest son, Ghani, became gravely ill with the influenza that raged over India
The Spanish flu pandemic.
and passed away at only 3 years old. Soon after, his mother also died from the same epidemic.
Devastating losses.
He describes praying intensely for his son's recovery, illustrating his deep personal faith, even in the face of such immense, heart-wrenching loss. These were losses that would undoubtedly fuel his desire for a better future for his people.
The broader world was also in turmoil at this time. World War I finally ended in 1918, brought widespread relief, but also untold troubles and disruptions in its aftermath.
Which profoundly impacted the social and political climate of India.
The war had strained British resources and awakened new aspirations among the colonized.
This bubbling unrest truly ignited in 1919 with the agitation over the infamous Rowlatt Act.
A major catalyst.
This draconian law allowed the British to imprison suspected terrorists without trial, and it sparked a wave of mass protests across India. In his village alone, a protest meeting attracted over 100,000 people,
Huge numbers.
signaling a new hope in the hearts of the Pathans and a rapidly growing momentum for fundamental change.
This meeting in Tahekal occurred amidst a critical geopolitical context. The British had actually started a war with Afghanistan.
Oh, really? At the same time?
Yeah. And the king of Afghanistan was openly sympathetic to India's freedom movement, seeing common cause against British imperialism. This broader regional context further underscored the rising anti-British sentiment and the growing interconnectedness of struggles for liberation.
This escalating unrest inevitably led to Pacha Khan's first arrest then.
They targeted him.
To escape martial law, which had been imposed by the British to quell the unrest, he went to Momand and later to an agricultural farm in Momanari. But he was tracked down, found, and arrested, taken to Marden prison.
The British were clearly targeting influential figures, aiming to decapitate the burgeoning movement.
His descriptions of the prison conditions are chilling.
Truly grim.
He recounts how there were no fetters large enough for my feet, implying that the British, knowing his imposing physical stature, deliberately sought to inflict pain by forcing small fetters onto him.
Deliberate cruelty.
His skin rubbed off and his feet bled from the constant friction. He also notes how the authorities were too afraid of the British not to obey the order. The description of the cantonment lockup paints a grim picture of deliberate cruelty and the systemic nature of oppression.
And his interrogation.
By Police Inspector Afridi, it highlights his defiant attitude even then, just hours after being captured.
What did he do?
Accused of going to the meeting, he replied simply, "My feet are hurting, I can't walk." When sarcastically told he was able to walk to your meeting all right, weren't you, but now you can't walk to the court, he maintained his stance, refusing to give in or show weakness.
A subtle but powerful act of resistance.
He was ultimately convicted and sentenced to 2 years imprisonment, explicitly for a special purpose and without a shred of evidence.
Just a pretext.
He knew it was a gross and despicable insult, a politically motivated punishment designed not just to incarcerate him, but to break the spirit of the nascent movement.
What this conviction truly revealed, however, was the British administration's growing fear of his influence. They weren't just punishing a man, they were trying to suppress a rising tide of dissent. And this only solidified Pacha Khan's own convictions about the true tyrannical nature of colonial power.
It's important to understand the broader political motivations behind this arrest, too. The Chief Commissioner, Sir George Roose-Keppel, despite apparently having a great liking and sympathy for the Pathans, was also an administrator of martial law with the power to restrict suppression to a minimum.
So bound by the system.
Exactly. Indicates that even those British officials with some degree of personal sympathy were ultimately bound by the oppressive logic of the colonial system, forced to enforce brutal policies.
The British tactic of intimidation extended far beyond individual arrests. It was widespread, collective punishment designed to break the community's will.
How so?
They looted his village and seized rifles. The deputy commissioner imposed a massive fine of Rs 30,000 on the villagers and imprisoned 150 people as hostages to ensure compliance.
Hostages.
Yes. Through this brutal intimidation, they ultimately collected Rs 100,000, a staggering sum extracted through sheer terror.
He endured 6 months in prison, and he notes that martial law was imposed twice during his lifetime, first in 1919 under the British,
And the second time,
and then, strikingly, again in 1958.
under Pakistan. Wow.
That second instance is incredibly telling, isn't it? Suggests the struggle for true freedom and justice in the region continued long after India's independence.
So his autobiography, published in 1958, wasn't just a historical memoir.
No, it was a contemporary reflection on these ongoing challenges and the enduring fight for rights.
Upon his release, despite the repression, he immediately noticed a new zeal and fervor for celebrations among the people.
So it hadn't broken them.
Quite the opposite. There was a clear sense that people were always focused on the country and the people. A new awakening and enthusiasm for national sentiment, showing that British attempts to suppress dissent only ignited it further.
This resurgence of national sentiment was closely tied to the Khilafat movement, right?
Yes, which started with great force and clamor. Indian Muslims were increasingly interested, and the movement quickly became a national one, signaling a powerful wave of mobilization across the subcontinent, unifying diverse groups under a common cause.
This widespread mobilization led directly into one of the most complex movements of the time, the Hijrat.
The Exodus or emigration movement of 1920.
Many people genuinely believed they couldn't practice their faith or maintain their identity under British rule and felt religiously compelled to leave for Afghanistan, encouraged by some religious leaders.
The complexities of Hijrat are truly heartbreaking. Pacha calls it a profound calamity for the Pathans.
Why? What happened?
Some mullahs, for instance, even issued a fatwa, a religious ruling, stating any man who does not go on Hijrat will have to divorce his wife.
Forced divorce?
That kind of coercion. It led to immense suffering and loss. Pacha recounts that many women, wearing ankle bells, tragically left without ever seeing their husbands again, underscoring the severe social and personal cost of this religiously driven migration.
King Amanullah Khan of Afghanistan, for his part, had a pragmatic stance regarding these immigrants.
Yes, he wanted them to contribute to land and employment, share in trade. He initially opposed directly fighting the British, believing Pathans should build internal strength first.
So build from within.
He encouraged self-sufficiency, saying, I shall give you a colony here. If you amongst yourselves can build up enough strength to wage a war against the British, I shall give you all the help I can. He envisioned internal development as the foundation for future action.
A critical issue that Pacha Khan quickly identified was the language barrier in Afghanistan.
Even with King Amolla.
While King Amanullah Khan himself spoke several languages, he didn't speak Pashto. Pacha Khan emphasized the vital importance of national language, stating, Pashto is the national language of Afghanistan.
Highlighting his early and consistent focus on cultural and linguistic identity as foundational to true national strength, both within Afghanistan and among Pathans under British rule.
The British, of course, were masters of manipulation when it came to language and education.
He knew how to exploit it.
They knew Pathans did not speak other Indian languages, which cleverly prevented communication and unity across India. They deliberately hindered education among Pathans, even though Pathan children were unusually intelligent.
Viewing this as a strategic way to keep them ignorant and thus easier to take full advantage of. Pacha Khan notes that the political agent of Malakand, Cab, was very hostile toward the Pathan movement for education.
The Khilafat movement, despite its broad appeal and unifying goal, also had complex internal dynamics.
Oh, yes. Pacha Khan was enthusiastic about it, but it soon split into different parties.
Factions emerged.
Haji Jan Muhammad Saheb and his colleagues, for example, organized a public meeting in Shahibah, where the proposal for the Khilafat Committee leadership was unanimously accepted, showing a concerted effort to create unity and clear leadership amidst the internal factions.
His reasons for joining the Khilafat movement were clear and profound, though.
What drove him?
People believed it would foster Hindu-Muslim unity, a concept he deeply cherished, and lead to a strong, independent India.
Unity was key for him.
He dedicated himself wholeheartedly to it, visiting tribal districts to meet people, exchange ideas, and crucially, he started to reopen old schools in these tribal areas. continuing his unwavering focus on education as a tool for liberation.
This intense activism, however, came at a heavy price.
Leading to another arrest.
Yes, his next arrest in December 1921. Sentenced to 3 years of rigorous imprisonment under Section 4 of the Frontier Crime Regulation, the same draconian law.
They kept using it against him.
A harsh reminder of the British determination to suppress the movement and punish its leaders.
His prison life in Peshawar was incredibly harsh this time.
Brutal. He was held in solitary confinement, isolated from all human contact.
And the Liber.
Given 20 seers, that's roughly 40 pounds or 18 kilograms of corn to grind daily, a punishing task designed to break a man's spirit and body.
The food?
Terrible. Maggots in it. He recounts that the British jailer didn't speak English, and even though the superintendent was an Englishman, Pacha Khan, in a subtle act of defiance, refused to speak English to him, maintaining a quiet resistance. The interactions with the jailers further revealed the degrading conditions. The jailer, Gangram, was described as a dirty man who openly took bribes.
Did Pacha Khan complain?
He bravely complained about the terrible food, including cement mixed into the bread and rotten vegetables. When mockingly asked to grind corn, he defiantly denied being a murderer and questioned the why of his suffering, challenging the injustice directly.
After just 2 months in Peshawar, having lost a staggering 45 pounds due to the harsh conditions,
45 pounds, incredible.
Oh, God. He was transferred to Dera Ghazi Khan prison. He describes being heavily fettered, handcuffed, and having a small iron collar around his neck during the transport by police car and train.
A deliberate display of humiliation and control meant to publicly degrade him.
Conditions in Dera Ghazi Khan prison were different, though.
Yes, he shared barracks with Hindus and Sikhs, who formed the majority. He even became fond of a teacher named Gurda Tamil, a worthy man whom he admired. He notes that this teacher would chant, Shanti, Shanti, peace, peace. But ironically, this chanting didn't necessarily make him a peaceful man. Sometimes it even caused him to lose his temper, a fascinating observation of human complexity.
The Sikhs in the prison, in particular, displayed remarkable religious and political resolve.
They did. They would chant, Sirjav, Tajav, Mera Sikh, Dharam Najav. If I may even lose my head, that I will not lose my Sikh faith.
Wow, powerful words.
Illustrates their deep commitment and spiritual strength in the face of oppression. A powerful lesson for Pacha Khan about unwavering conviction.
This resolve was put to the test, wasn't it?
Yes, when the British superintendent in that prison tried to make the Sikhs remove their Gandhi caps and black turbans, powerful symbols of their religious and political identity linked to the nationalist movement.
And what happened?
The Sikhs famously refused. And in a small but significant victory for defiance, the commissioner ultimately ruled in their favor, demonstrating the power of collective resistance.
But the arrests continued, and many prisoners were moved to solitary cells. Pacha Khan himself was given another 3-year sentence.
3 more years.
And then sent to Mianwali prison, which she described as having a queer sort of mentality, perhaps referring to its particularly harsh or unusually isolating approach to prisoners, designed to break their will.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the power of both the Sikh and Khilafat movements became undeniably clear.
How so?
When Khilafat movement prisoners were eventually released, they didn't cower. They immediately raised their voices in a mighty protest, demonstrating the lasting strength and inspiration these movements had instilled, a clear sign that imprisonment only strengthened their resolve.
While in prison, Pacha Khan seized the opportunity to study the Holy Quran deeply.
Using the time productively.
He wasn't just reading it. He was actively seeking to understand why the poor man was used to follow the beaten track, why they were so easily manipulated. He believed in independent interpretation.
A radical idea at the time, moving away from rigid orthodoxy and seeking direct spiritual guidance to inform his activism.
An interaction with a doctor named Prem Nath, a Hindu, in Lahore Central Jail, stands out as a powerful moment of inter-community goodwill.
Yes, Dr. Nath offered him kindness and care after a dental surgery, emphasizing the profound sense of human connection and solidarity that could exist even within the dehumanizing confines of British prisons, transcending religious divides.
There's also the poignant incident involving a Muslim holy man, Pir Sahib, who was arrested and brought to the prison.
Right. His arrest stirred up strong feelings among the people outside, being a spiritual leader.
Pacha Khan recounts seeing Pir Sahib's lovely little child, his daughter Nisa Sharif, who had come to the prison.
That emotional detail humanizes the struggle, revealing the sacrifices made not just by the leaders, but by their innocent families.
This is where it gets really interesting, I think, and becomes central to Badsha Khan's message.
That's favorite.
He famously used the fable of the lion and the sheep.
Tell us the story.
In this story, a lioness gives birth to a cub and a sheep to a lamb. The lion cub grows up among the sheep, learning to bleat like them, and crucially runs away in fear when it encounters a true lion.
So it thinks it's a sheep.
Exactly. The wise lion then explains to the cub that it is, in fact, a lion, not a sheep, and that you have been brought up in slavery. Stop bleating like sheep. Roar like lions.
A powerful metaphor for internalized oppression.
The symbolism of that fable is incredibly powerful and direct, and Badsha Khan applied it directly to his people, the Pathans.
What did he say?
He declared, "O Pathans, so also I say to you, you are not sheep, you are lions. You are lions, but you have been brought up in slavery. Stop bleating like sheep. Roar like lions."
Wow. A profound emotional call to reclaim their inherent identity, their dignity, and their strength, urging them to shed the mental shackles of colonial servitude. This was a man of peace asking his people to roar.
Unsurprisingly, the British government was annoyed by this speech, seeing it as profoundly seditious.
Such direct challenges to their authority, framed within a cultural analogy that resonated so deeply with the Pathans, were clearly perceived as a grave threat to their control, especially coming from a figure building such a strong movement based on nonviolence.
After his release, in May 1926, he embarked on a significant spiritual journey, a pilgrimage to Mecca and Palestine.
Joined by his elder sister.
They traveled to Jeddah, Medina, Mecca, and Palestine, visiting holy and historical places, including Baghdad, Najaf, Karbala, and Basra. This journey not only fulfilled a crucial spiritual duty, but also connected him with a wider Islamic world and its rich history.
Upon his return, Badsha Khan observed a crucial problem in his region.
Yeah.
There was no national newspaper.
The information gap again.
Recognizing the power of information and collective identity, he immediately planned to publish a journal for Pathans in their own language, Pashto. His vision was a national journal in the true sense of the word, a tangible step towards cultural and political empowerment.
The launch of Pakhtun in May 1928 bore fruit almost immediately.
Yes, and its very name, Pakhtun or Pathan, powerfully highlighted its purpose to reclaim and celebrate their identity. He passionately lamented the decline of his people's own language and its potential disappearance.
Arguing that
a nation that forgets its own language will eventually disappear from the map altogether. For him, language was inextricably linked to existence and national pride.
Predictably, the British and later the Pakistan government banned its publication.
Recognizing its power to foster unity and resistance, Badsha Khan describes it as a great pity that the Pathans were careless about speaking their own language, indicating that internal neglect compounded the external suppression, creating a dual challenge for language preservation.
The mullahs, once again, played a complicated role when it came to language.
Yes, they never thought of teaching others their language, being not even interested in reading or writing their own language. Astonishingly, they believed Pathans would learn enough from other languages, concluding that otherwise they were in hell. This deep-seated religious conservatism was another significant barrier to cultural preservation and intellectual development.
King Amanullah Khan of Afghanistan, however, actively supported Pashto.
He did, promoting it as the national language and ordering government employees to learn it. 9 issues of Jak Pakhtun, another Pashto journal, were published, demonstrating a parallel effort to revive the language.
Whoa.
However, the mullahs, elders, and religious leaders in Afghanistan created disturbances, tragically labeling these efforts as kafir or infidel, showing that internal resistance to progress was not unique to British India.
So on one hand, the British deliberately aimed to keep Pathans illiterate and uneducated to maintain control.
And on the other,
Even King Amanullah, who was dreaming of the welfare of his people and actively promoting Pashto, found that the Afghans themselves did not take as much advantage as they could have from his initiatives due to internal resistance.
highlights a struggle on multiple complex fronts for the Pathan people.
Recognizing the profound need for a new direction and a unified movement, Badsha Khan founded the Khudai Khidmatkars.
The servants of God.
He articulated a clear path for them, a powerful combination of religion and patriotism. He acknowledged that we have not yet acquired much education, but crucially, they possessed a deep love for their nation and a sense of patriotism, love for their nation, and social consciousness.
This was a movement built not just on intellect, but on existing values and innate spiritual drive.
The core principles of the Kudai Khidmatgars were laid out in a powerful vow, a truly revolutionary blend of spirituality, ethics, and social action, especially for a people known for their warrior traditions.
What did the vow say?
The vow stated, "I am a Kudai Khidmatgar, and as God needs no service, but serving his creation is serving him, I promise to serve humanity in the name of God."
An active commitment.
This vow also included specific tenets: refraining from violence and revenge, actively forgiving oppressors, treating pasas as brothers and friends, practicing virtues and good manners, and not indulging in idleness.
It was a radical reimagining of courage and strength, replacing physical aggression with spiritual and moral fortitude. Moving into the escalating conflict, the Khilafat Conference in Calcutta in December 1928 saw many Peshawar fruit vendors participate, highlighting the broad-based appeal of the movement.
But there were internal issues.
Yes, Pacha Khan notes great antagonism between Punjabis and Muhammad Ali, describing the Punjabis as strange people who accused him of various things. Muhammad Ali himself was displeased with Hindus, showing the internal rifts and complex interpersonal dynamics that plagued the broader independence movement even among its leaders.
What's fascinating here is Gandhi's approach during this period.
How did he differ?
When he addressed the Congress meeting in Calcutta, he made a deep impression, returning to his lodging with companions. He consistently avoided direct confrontation in certain situations, unlike some other leaders, a strategic difference in how they approached the struggle. Gandhi's presence and methods undoubtedly influenced Pacha Khan's own nonviolent stance.
The Congress session in Lahore in December 1929 saw many people from Pacha Khan's province attending, highlighting the growing participation and integration of his people into the broader nationalist movement.
Did he meet leaders there?
He recounts meeting Maulana Muhammad Ali there again, describing him as a fine man, despite the earlier noted tensions.
The British, meanwhile, continued their manipulative tactics, showing their deep understanding of the movement's potential.
How do they frame it?
They initially tried to dismiss the Khidmatgars movement as purely social and not political, but their actions proved otherwise.
What did they say privately?
The chief commissioner candidly told Pacha Khan, "Your work may be purely social at the moment, but what guarantee have I that once you have trained the Pathans, you will not use them against us?"
Wow, so they saw the potential threat.
Reveals their profound distrust and their full awareness of the movement's underlying power and purpose.
Pacha Khan's conviction about revolution was profound, and he used a powerful analogy.
What was it?
He believed it was like a flood, a natural, irresistible force that could bring either blessings or ruin, depending on how it was channeled. He was convinced that the Pathans, if properly trained for the movement, meaning trained in the discipline of nonviolence and self-control, would rise to power.
Echoing his earlier sentiment.
Exactly, that a nation that forgets its own language will eventually disappear from the map altogether, a belief that self-awareness and self-mastery were the true paths to power.
Then came the horrific Kisakana Bazaar massacre on April 23, 1930.
A truly dark day.
British troops and armored cars brutally suppressed a protest involving Hindus, Sikhs, and Muslims. Troops drove armored cars directly into crowds, firing indiscriminately and killing many innocent people.
A memorable day for its sheer brutality, etched into the collective memory, and was often tragically overlooked.
The Garhwali troops.
The incredible act of defiance by the Garhwali troops, Indian soldiers who showed immense love for their country and people by refusing to fire on the crowd.
Incredible courage.
An act of profound heroism and moral courage. Yet it was later systematically blotted out of the nation's memory by the British, for obvious reasons.
Following this massacre, the British government launched a new wave of tyranny and oppression.
It got even worse.
They effectively blockaded the entire province, preventing people from leaving or carrying goods, a collective punishment designed to cripple the population and starve them into submission, directly punishing the entire community for the actions of a few or the protests of many.
The raids and arrests intensified dramatically. Soldiers went directly to Khidmatgar offices and homes,
Targeting leaders.
arresting Pacha Khan's 14-year-old son Wali and other key leaders. They pointed bayonets at Muslims, stretching out hands to arrest them, often with extreme force. Pacha Khan recounts how Hassan Khan even tore his own clothes in defiance, a desperate act of protest against the humiliation.
Despite the overwhelming force, the red shirts, as the Kudai Khidmatgars, came to be known due to their distinctive red uniforms.
They showed immense defiance.
The deputy commissioner called them unruly and arrogantly. People were frightened, undoubtedly, but no one dared utter a word in opposition to their leaders or their movement. The British even physically tore the iconic red shirts from the people's backs.
But they kept wearing them.
The people continued to wear them, even patched, a powerful symbol of their unwavering resolve and commitment to the movement.
There are heartbreaking personal anecdotes that reveal the true human cost of this oppression.
Like what?
One man was so physically weak that he gave in to demands when his wife was washing clothes, highlighting the immense, almost unbearable pressure on individuals and families. Others, like Haji Shahnawaz Khan, were put in prison with their families, only to be released when they gave a thumbprint to a declaration of submission.
Tactics designed to break not just individuals, but the social fabric itself.
Yet the Pathans' resilience was remarkable. The British tried to spread propaganda that the Khidmatgars were merely villagers, dismissing them as unsophisticated.
But the
truth was they were fighting fiercely for freedom. The British themselves observed that Pathans still refused to submit, and were so disgusted with the British that they gave cold shoulder to anyone who dared to put his thumbprint to the declaration.
illustrates the profound failure of British intimidation and their inability to break the Pathan spirit.
The British also continued their insidious efforts to divide and conquer, actively trying to make Hindus fight the Congress.
Classic divide and rule again, designed to fragment the independence movement.
Pacha Khan insightfully believed the British were, quote, protecting them in order that they could fight the Hindus, illustrating his clear understanding of their manipulative strategy to set communities against each other for their own gain.
The suppression continued, culminating in the siege of Banu.
What happened there?
Delegates to the frontier province, including prominent figures like Vithalbhai Patel, were stopped and blocked from entering the area. A long, detailed report was written on the atrocities committed there.
But the British
Swiftly seized it, turning it into their own propaganda tool, twisting the narrative to suit their agenda.
military actions intensified in Banu. Troops attacked Hathi Kel, and the government took direct revenge on Bhagwan Singh.
Wow.
The British blockaded Banu, cutting off food supplies and causing widespread distress among the civilian population. Malik Akbar Ali Khan was accused of a shameful and inhuman scheme in connection to this siege, highlighting the moral bankruptcy of these tactics,
The British continued to actively challenge Hindu-Muslim unity.
creating what Pacha Khan called a monstrous scheme to make Hindus and Muslims fight. Yet Pacha Khan observed a curious detail. The British safeguarded wherever there were Kudai Khidmatgars in Dera Ismail Khan district,
Why would they do that?
suggesting a tactical effort to isolate the red shirts and prevent a broader unified uprising.
Even after the Gandhi-Irwin Pact concluded, which was supposed to bring a period of peace and negotiation,
The violence continued.
a meeting at Ukmanzai was fired upon by soldiers. Innocent people were killed, tragically demonstrating that British tyranny and oppression continued unabated. Regardless of official agreements or declarations of peace, the violence was endemic to the system.
The red shirts, however, displayed incredible bravery in the face of this continued aggression.
Ow.
They marched towards the British, who responded with assault and beat up our people, further illustrating the unwavering, non-violent resolve of the movement against brutal physical force. They were absorbing the violence, not retaliating.
A deeply personal account highlights the devastating human cost of this violence. Rabnawaz Khan's sister was struck by a bullet while running away from the firing, tragically dying.
Oh, terrible.
People gathered surrounded her, but were frightened, unable to intervene. The British soldiers then callously searched the dead, adding insult to injury and stripping the victims of their final dignity.
This relentless British aggression in the frontier region naturally fueled boiling rage in the tribal areas.
Understandable.
The frontier people were deeply annoyed, leading to widespread uprisings among the Afridis, Momans, Safis, Utmankales, Mamuns, and Salarzai tribes. It was a testament to the enduring spirit of resistance that even after years of suppression, their rage continued to simmer and erupt.
Local councils, or jirgas, which were traditional forms of governance, were directly targeted by the British.
Undermining local structures.
In a powerful moment of defiance, the political agent wanted to shake hands with Pacha Khan,
And what did he say?
who famously refused, stating with moral clarity that he would not pollute myself by touching a hand that is red with the blood of my brethren.
A moment of profound moral courage, where a handshake represented complicity.
The British further exacerbated divisions by deliberately fragmenting Pathan country into 8 separate parts. with no legal or administrative connection with Delhi.
A cynical move aimed to create disunity and weakness, preventing a unified front and ensuring the Pathans remained fractured and thus easier to control.
Badshah Khan's struggle, then, was ultimately against this overarching tyranny and oppression. He asked a fundamental, agonizing question.
What was it?
Why should a nation of noble, gentle, and respectable men and women be deliberately destroyed? His enduring vision was for Pathans and Baluchis, united not just for political gain, but for the service of God and humanity, elevating the struggle to a spiritual plane. #outro.
So what does all of this mean for us today? It offers a profound reflection, I think, on the depth of commitment to nonviolence shown by Badshah Khan, especially within a region like the Pathan frontier.
Yeah, a place traditionally known for its martial culture and fierce independence.
Exactly. This truly challenges common perceptions about where nonviolence can take root and highlights the universal appeal of ethical resistance, demonstrating that the human spirit's capacity for peace can transcend even the most ingrained cultural stereotypes.
And it deeply emphasizes the crucial role of education and cultural pride as fundamental tools of resistance and liberation.
Absolutely key.
We saw how Badshah Khan deliberately countered both British suppression and the mullah's orthodoxy by founding schools and newspapers in the local language.
Building from the ground up.
His struggle wasn't just about fighting against an oppressor. It was about building, informing, and cultivating a deep sense of identity and self-worth that oppression actively sought to erase.
And here's where it gets really interesting, I think. Consider how the British strategy of divide and rule,
So persistent.
explicitly shown in their attempts to incite conflict between different communities and tribes, persisted through decades and shaped the political landscape of the subcontinent in ways we still see repercussions from today.
It's a long, dark shadow they cast, isn't it?
Understanding its historical roots is crucial for understanding present-day conflicts.
Badshah Khan was deeply committed to Hindu-Muslim unity as a path to independence, even while facing overt British attempts to sow discord. What stands out to you about his unwavering vision for a united movement? And how might that vision resonate or challenge understandings of regional conflicts even today? If the Pathan people, known for their fierce independence and warrior traditions, could embrace nonviolent resistance through the powerful vision of Badshah Khan, what does this tell us about the true nature of courage and the remarkable adaptability of human will in the face of immense oppression?
Consider how a historical figure, often tragically overshadowed by others in the narrative of independence, offers a profound and timeless lesson. That liberation isn't just about what you fight against, but what you fight for. A vision of unity, education, and unwavering service to humanity, regardless of the tools of struggle. It's a legacy of profound purpose that continues to inspire.